Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, I have a special guest joining us from Iowa. His name is Jeff Ebbing, and he's the Director of Marketing Communications at Southeastern Community College. Jeff, welcome to the show.
I am happy to be here. Good to see you.
Very good. I know Jeff from the NCMPR conferences. I met him last year in Orlando and then rejoined him again this year in Seattle. And he's also one of my running partners when it comes to conferences. So it's always great to connect with Jeff. A little bit of background about Jeff. He has an MBA from the University of Iowa, and he is one of the past presidents of NCMPR, the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations, and he serves as the Director of Marketing and Communications at Southeastern Community College in Iowa, as I mentioned earlier. And he's been with Southeastern for about 20 years. Jeff, give us a little bit of a background about your career and why you chose to stick with Southeastern for so many years.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to actually get a job pretty much in my hometown. And so I had just finished grad school and was looking, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And this opportunity popped up. And so I stepped in, and I'll be honest, I didn't think I was going to be here as long as I was. It's just, well, let's get going. And I really found that I love the kind of work that I do in my community. This was the best marketing gig really around, and so I landed a great opportunity and have been really blessed with a fantastic president who has really done a lot of great things for the college with his tenure here and really elevated the need. Understands the importance of marketing and communications and everything that our function does for the institution. He's really embraced that, and that's been a lot of opportunities for me to actually bring marketing to the table. Before that, the president really she didn't appreciate it as much, and so I really, as time and projects came along, I just would knock on the door, sometimes literally, hey, can I be a part of this conversation? Not that I have to make all the decisions, but marketing should have the perspective and sharing that in the room, because academic, student services, the business folks, they don't look at things the same way as we do. And so just making sure that perspective is in the room and shared with the decision makers has really made a big difference, certainly for our institution and definitely for my career.
Absolutely. And I know that you're really involved with NCMPR. So give a quick plug for NCMPR if you would.
Well, like I said, this is the first job that I ever had in higher ed. And about 2 months after I started my job here, I got a postcard in the mail written to the guy who had the job before me, asking me if I wanted to join NCMPR. And wow, this is great. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to learn everything I need to learn. And so really, as my career progressed at SCC, my involvement and participation at NCMPR was pretty much the same time. And so I really owe everything that I know about higher ed marketing to that organization. And over the years, I went from a person who goes to conferences and consumes information and learns things, and I started to write blogs, and I started to give presentations, and then I started to get more involved voluntarily. Managed to become the district director of District 5, which is the Upper Midwest Plain States area. Loved it, had a great time, learned so much. Opportunity came up to move up to the executive board. I applied, I was selected, and now I've like I said, led the organization over my tenure. And so again, my career personally in my institution and my time with NCMPR have really made each other happen.
Yeah, and I can tell you're very much appreciated by NCMPR. So thanks for the hard work, and I personally really enjoy NCMPR. I was part of them for 2 years now in a row, and just can't tell you it's different than some of the other conferences. You actually, as a vendor, you actually feel like you are appreciated when you're there, and you can see by the attendees who are actually stopping by the booth. So that's always something we want to continuously support going forward as long as I'm with Hannon Hill. But let's talk about your passion a little bit. And one of your passions is teaching higher ed pros about messaging and tactics to reach the right audience and then move them to action. Now, you've been with Southeastern for over 20 years, like I mentioned just now. How has messaging evolved over the recent years when it comes to speaking to prospective students?
Well, I think generally speaking, we're all still motivated to choose to do something with our life. That thing in memoriam that really hasn't, changed, but certainly the methods have, the tactics have, and probably the way that you say your message has changed. I would say now in this environment, certainly post-COVID, where community colleges really are unique in that we we serve a lot of people. Yes, there's a lot of folks who come here for a variety of different reasons, and we definitely serve a lot of service industry, trade organizations. Healthcare is huge, industry, technology, trade, those kinds of things. But we also serve a lot of students who are going to they're headed down the 4-year bachelor's degree path, and they'll start here. And I think especially that what I've seen in the past few years is that students who might be either first generation or students who are very cost conscious are really starting to choose community colleges more than before. And it's less of a reluctant choice. It's more of a savvy choice. Well, I'm going to go to SCC in my case, and I'm going to save 20, 30, 40,000 once I go off to the next school. I have a daughter who graduates very soon from SCC, and her financial savvy, her sensitivity and awareness of what it costs to go to college is 10 times greater than mine was when I was her same age going to school. And that has really stuck with me is if I've got this young 21-year-old, 18, 19, these kids, they're aware. They saw mom and dad maybe still have student debt. They've got older brothers and sisters, student debt, student debt, student debt, and they're seeing them not live the life that they want to live. And so they're making a lot more savvy choices as a result of that. And so as a community college marketer, I lean into that. I used to be afraid. I don't want to poke the bear. The big state universities, they've got 10, 20, 30 times more money than I've got to spend in a given year, and they're going to come bury me with ads and promotion. Well, they're fighting their own fires, I've learned. And this is still something, if we don't lean into one of our biggest competitive advantages, we're fools. And so I've really kind of come a full 180 degrees on how I lean into that and really make that a part of our messaging.
Absolutely. I was one of those community college grads that went to school later in life, had a family, had a full-time job, had a mortgage, and I was super aware of how much I wanted to spend, right? And luckily I paid along the way and was able to do so and graduated debt-free with my 2-year degree, and then went on to University of Florida online, which also was a lot less than going on campus, right? So very conscious when it came to my money decisions there when it comes to higher ed.
Agreed. And again, we're seeing more of those. I'm even noticing a lot of just my peer group friends that I have in the community, people who I know who are they're attorneys, they're architects, they are people in very staunchly white collar professional positions. I'll come in next fall and wow, I didn't know, I'll see their kids here. And that's not that's not a classist thing, but people who you think probably do have some financial means to help their kids go to wherever they want to go, those kids are still coming here. And that's got to be because they see the value in what we provide. And they know they're going to get the quality education. They know they'll be a little closer to home. So maybe some kids might not be emotionally or have the maturity to go on and make good decisions when they're off away at school. They're seeing that we can provide a lot of that value, and they could choose to go wherever they want, but they're choosing to come here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the quality is definitely there. Again, somebody who went through it myself, once I made the switch from community college to University of Florida, I was like, oh, am I ready for the big dogs for university? But then you know what? My GPA stayed the same or even improved when I went to that school. So the rigor is there on both sides. You know, it's just a smarter financial opportunity to go to community college. But now let's talk about messaging a little bit, right? Because things have changed to more digital messaging. What do you believe are essential to communicating to prospective students in today's digital age? I know there's different stakeholders. You got Gen Z, you got adult learners. What's essential when it comes to communicating to these prospective students?
Well, again, I think the biggest thing is especially with the value proposition, when we're talking, you're making a smart choice by going to a community college. That transcends age, demographics, everything. The people like to know, you like to know that you're in the club to a certain degree, and people, oh, they're not doing that. They're not as smart as me. Yay, me. And I don't, not to be patronizing, but that's something that we like to think that we're savvy. We're doing great things. And again, whether you're 18, whether you're 25, whether you're 35, whatever age you are, people definitely want to feel that they're making the right decision. That return on investment is so crucial. And so when we're able to communicate that to them in a message that resonates with them. So how I would tell an 18-year-old student, we're the right place for you. Do you, person who's considering college, want to go to a big four-year school, enjoy some fun, football games, live in the dorm, have a great experience? I did it as, you know, I also went to community college. Do you want to do that and spend $200 to $300 every month for the next 20 years of your life? Or do you want to start at a community college and not have to worry about at least that amount? They might have to get loans junior, senior year, but at least that amount is not going to be part of their equation. That's real to them. They can understand that. And they know the value of a dollar. They know that $200 could be a car payment. $200 could be whatever, you know, but for 20 years, and then information is researched online, and I reference that. Average student debt really is about $30,000. When you tack on interest over the life of the loan, it's about 37. And so that's the kind of money that you're looking at having to pay back. And now that's the double of a kid's life when they're thinking about that. Do I want to pay my entire times two of my life this money every month? We've seen that to be a really good motivator. And certainly when parents see that kind of thing comes in a postcard and sits on the counter, they certainly know what that money's like for the next 20 years. And I think we can really help them have those conversations at home. And that cuts through a lot of the clutter. Same
Yeah.
would be true again for adults. The same thing. They see the money.
Absolutely. They see the money. And then one of the important things to communicate when it comes to the younger student is the value of education, right? Because some of them may think, well, if Walmart hires me for $15 an hour, I'm okay. But then look at the long-term trajectory of you're not going to want to be a $15, $16 an hour employee when you have kids, right? So you're going to have to make sure you got that degree, upskill, and then move forward into a better future for yourself and your family. How do you do that? Do you usually do that through student spotlights?
Yeah, we have had some really good luck, certainly with those types of testimonial advertising. And I found too that we're actually trying with a couple of our more recent campaigns that we actually have under development right now. I'm trying actually a little bit more of a prompted, not quite scripted, more of a prompted angle with some of the campaigns that we're doing. We're doing an out of district campaign right now for our nursing program, really going deep into across state lines into another community college's district where they may not necessarily know who we are. And so I have to really tell that story in a much more overt way. You can't sit back and let the story come out of the person because we have to tell people who we are. They have to know that we're not the community college they're thinking about. There's a lot of things, and so we have to really direct that. And so I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But to your point, a lot of times to tell those value propositions, when people know who we are, we can lean into that part. We've already crossed that mountain. They're already aware of us. And now we can just get more into the awareness and the interest stage of that conversation. And I've been really lucky. A couple years ago, we interviewed a lady for a campaign that we were doing, and I don't know if we could possibly have asked for a better interview person. All we had to do was push record on the camera, and she told this just heartwarming story. I mean, the story that she talks about, she carried around two greeting cards in her backpack the entire time that she went to community college. One of them, and they were from her parents and her husband. And they said, "We believe in you. We know you can do this." And she tells that story, and it's just you're bawling by the time. It's a 30-second spot, and you got tears in your eyes because she's so inspirational. Talked about how it was harder for her to get out of her car and walk in and talk to an advisor for the very first time than any test that she ever took, any quiz, any paper, any homework assignment. She said that was the hardest thing for her to do was to move from getting out of the car and walking in.
That's amazing. Is that publicly available for people
Oh
to
yeah.
watch?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's phenomenal. Yes. We
What's
have
it called? What's it called?
her name is Erin Wagner. And so I'll send it to you and you can put it in the show notes if you like.
I will definitely do that. I love these success stories, and it's always something to consider. These people waiting in the car trying to get into the admissions office and they're scared to do so. That's something that's often overlooked, that fear part there. So communicating belonging and diversity, equity, inclusion for some people is very important, even if mostly the people that work on the campus for such a long time, they may be desensitized that some people have some barrier there. They may not feel like they belong at a institution of higher learning. So to get back to speaking to the actual prospects and the people that went through that, that's sometimes eye-opening for some of us.
I agree. And you're right. And we also, whether some of us may never have had that perspective about college. And so it's hard to put ourselves in those shoes or even think about how would I craft messaging that speaks to that person until we have experienced someone like that. And now that is a message that I can make sure I'm bringing up when I'm doing campaigns that are targeting adult students, folks who maybe are thinking about coming back. I would always do, and I still think it's possible. It's a good value to say, don't like where you're at, think you're in a dead end job. You can empower yourself. You can go move forward. That's a great message. And perhaps even the person who's afraid to go to school feels that way. But I got to give them the courage to walk in the door first, and then they can lean into that. And you just build that momentum, and then they'll roll from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you talked about you're having a out of district campaign. So when I think community college, I'm thinking about it's going to attract the students within the community. But if you go out of your community, how do you get people to come to your college? Because flexibility is key, especially with adult learners. Do you offer online courses that people can take through your college?
Yeah, very much so. There's a lot of folks who take online courses, specifically with their out of district campaign. This is what makes it unique. We have a partnership with our local hospital group, happens to be in town directly across the street from where I'm standing here right now. And their footprint of their health service centers really match our institution footprint as well. And so we put our leadership both work together, and their hospital foundation has provided us $10 million over 5 years. They're using that money to underwrite, to essentially double our faculty capacity. So now we've got twice as many teachers, which means therefore we can have conceivably twice as many nursing students in the program to run them through the pipeline faster and then go work at these hospitals. The whole traveling nurses and a lot of hospitals are just paying so much for this. Yay for the nurses, but it really put hospitals in a really tough financial position. So it's cheaper for them to give us $10 million to teach students to get them into their program than it would be necessarily to long-term pay that money. Part of what really makes this program novel and great for me is they're actually providing a learning stipend for the students who are in the program. So you can actually get paid to go to nursing school. Well, that's why I'm going out of district, because if you might if you want to go to school and become a nurse, that's great. And you're going to probably go to your own community college. But if I can go to community college and get paid to do it, now all of a sudden I'm willing to drive 20, 30 more minutes in my car to get to school because I'm going to get paid over the course. Every semester, we give out a little bit of a stipend each semester. So if you're from out of state, you'll make $9,000 over the course of your nursing program, broken down into small increments as you progress. So again, that pays for a lot of gas driving to and from. That helps you with your time. And if you're a student and you're a nursing program, working is difficult, family is difficult, the program is insanely difficult. So this might take some of the financial pressure off students where they can focus more on their studies and be more successful. So that's why I'm going out into to pushing out farther than I typically would otherwise.
That's amazing. That's amazing of the power of communications, because oftentimes you have these grants or these scholarships and people may not know about them. But if you as the marketing department are so savvy to communicate it in a way to tell people, hey, you're actually getting paid to come to our school. Now that's something that'll drive audience engagement right there. And I assume that was one of those campaigns that really helped you increase engagement or enrollment numbers at your school. So how did you go about that campaign where you communicated, hey, you get paid to go to nursing school?
Well, where people always, we in the marketing realm, especially in higher ed, we joke about, our trustees never see a billboard, so do they even know we're advertising? Well, in this situation, a billboard was really one of the best things that we can do. Literally, I had 4 words, five, get paid to go to nursing. Okay, that's more than 5 words, but get paid to go to nursing school. Only text, our little logo. There was no call to action. There was no URL. It was just that in our logo. Just that generated a whole bunch of traffic we got calls, certainly inquiries, visits, all of the things that you want to do, and you hope that you can get a great tagline and a great call to action. Money talks, literally money talks. That was my call to action. And so even doing something as simple as that, when we did tests, and I had a whole bunch of different types of creative, a happy nurse working with someone, I had a teacher working with a nurse, and one of them was just the words, get paid to go to nursing school. And the text only ad outperformed the other ones like 5 or 6 to 1. It was hands down no contest as far as which ad performed the best.
That's amazing. Simplicity is often key in these messaging, and it brings the point across as well. And I love the billboard example because there are a lot of people that are in dead-end jobs that hate where they work. If you catch them on their commute to or from work, they're particularly upset about a day in the office or wherever they were, where they didn't like to work anymore, that reskill and upskill opportunity is a ray of hope to see that on a billboard.
It made it easy as well because even if you're not someone who I'm trying to talk to, you see that you're going to tell people, did you know SCC's giving people money? There's no way that's true. And then they find out that it is. And of course, we've carried that through for other traditional media, digital media. It was the same message pretty much across the board. Executions were slightly different, but the overall message was that. So just generating the buzz and the awareness, again, whether you're going to be a nurse or not, you probably know somebody who might be interested. Did you find out about that? Do you know about that? Have you heard about it? That was enough right there. Just that the influencing the influencers really was a key for us to drive this program forward as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep. Sometimes it's the influencers. It may not be directly the students, but maybe the parent or the boss who has a CNA who's thinking about becoming a nurse tells that CNA, hey, look at that. This is an opportunity for you to upskill and then join the ranks of RNs here at the hospital. Now, that was one way to message using a billboard. But how do you determine to focus your marketing efforts to reach your audiences effectively? Do you have other ways, or do you have proven concepts like the billboard that you always use, or how did you come up with that?
Well, I would say one of the things that I like to do is I'm always trying to test something. Social media platforms, digital platforms, they're in the business to make money, right? So they're always trying to come up with products that get people, advertisers like us, to try it because they know the data, they know their user. I can't even pretend to know what the things that they know about us. So they're putting together ways to get in front of people in a novel way. I can't keep up, number one, but number two, they would have put something out there for us to try if there wasn't probably some chance that it's going to work. There's some efficacy behind that. So I lean into trying, and generally speaking, I would say up to 25, sometimes maybe 30% of my ad campaign, I'm trying something different. I'm trying a different platform. I'm trying, well, maybe not so much a platform, but I'm trying a different ad setup or an ad option in when I'm putting things out there. Certainly Meta does stuff all the time that's different. I've done some exciting things with YouTube as well. We're advertising a lot more. Hulu is now opened up. When I was at the NCMPR conference in Seattle, we found out that now Amazon Prime is doing advertising. I want to try that. Again, we as viewers, I don't want anything to get in the way between me and my movie, but as an advertiser, if I can give you a good message, certainly I'm going to try to take advantage of that. So I'm always trying to look at how can we incorporate these types of things into what we're doing. Not all of our marbles, but try a few and see what sticks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially with Amazon Prime, and I think they have around 200 million monthly viewers to get in front of them, at the right opportune time. That definitely plants a seed, if anything.
And in our case too, we're a relatively small district. And so even when I'm going into market every month with something, even when I try to segment, I'm gonna segment a relatively small pie into a really small slice. So the more I segment, there's a good chance the more I'm just pounding these same people all the time. So when I get into a new platform, if you never watch Hulu, if you're never on YouTube, you spend all your time on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Now I'm somebody new that you're seeing for the first time. I'm reaching into new markets and to new people, and so that's also appealing to me. Is I'm not turning into wallpaper for the folks that I'm talking to all the time, because again, a small subset of a small subset, I'm going to have a lot of overlap, and that's something that also helps us. It pushes my team, it pushes me, all to try to reach people in another touch point in another way where maybe we haven't before.
Yeah, that is a good point, not to turn into wallpaper, because if you see the same thing over and over again, you kind of tune it out, and then it's no longer effective. Now, we talked a lot about your successes at Southeastern. Can you discuss any of the challenges you faced over the years moving your target audiences to action? Can you think of anything there?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is just keeping up with the tech, keeping up with the changes in general. When I started, my job was mostly radio, print. We had there's no broadcast TV here, so I had local cable access and just doing and print mail stuff. That was really what I did. Now I do next to none of that. I mean, we still have some. We talked about billboards, right? But for the most part, everything is different. So I think the biggest challenge has been to learn to live in this digital realm and find out how we can leverage the platforms, their own individual strengths. I always challenge the people who I work with as far as my media buyers and even our creative clients or the creative vendors. Okay, we're going to make this ad set. We're going to put these assets together. I don't want to take this one thing which looks good on this one platform and then just duplicate it across the platforms. That doesn't work. The audiences are different. Certainly the technical specs are different. The tools that are available on those platforms are different. So I'm not the professional. You buyer, you ad agency, you're the ones who let's lean into what makes Instagram. How can we make an ad that's going to make Instagram the best place for this ad? How can we do the same thing for YouTube? It's going to be extra work on them, but why should we not leverage the strength of those platforms? That's why they're there. And so that's also been something that I've really tried to push people forward after experiencing, again, it's great here, but it's mediocre there. We need to make it great in both places.
Yeah, that's the pitfall of some of the smaller teams that may not have the resources to outsource and work with vendors like that. Okay, we have a great piece, great article. Let's just put it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter or whatever. Just have the same creative maybe one platform has some engagement and the other ones just fall flats, but you did your job, you pushed it out there, but it's not the way to go about it, as you just explained, because every single platform has its own nuances on how to reach the audience on that particular platform. So that's something to keep in mind there. What are some emerging trends that you've seen coming up? I know AI is huge right now. Everybody's talking about it. Some embrace it, some don't. But for you at Southeastern Community College, what are some of those emerging trends that you're embracing when it comes to higher ed marketing?
Well, I would definitely say that AI is increasingly a tool that I use, not for so much for creative, but I've definitely ran some. I've generated some queries and got some information out about how to plan some things, how to put together a lot of the tedious things that we do that is relatively rote and not necessarily a good use of my creative planning time or strategic time. That's ideal stuff for AI. So I can tell it to give me a 3-month plan and where I should have these points and develop some messaging and give me some high level things. And I normally even ask it in the prompt based on best practices within higher ed. How would you XYZ? You definitely will notice a little bit of a difference if you butter up the AI person, the AI chatbot. It does amp up its game. I don't know how or why, but it does. And so I've also learned just by asking a couple little more nuanced questions, I've gotten some better information out of that. And that's been very helpful. I've learned that I've got some blind spots in a couple areas that it clearly points out to me that I'm able to address. So it helps me check my work. And again, if I'm able to spend less time doing some of this more rote stuff, I've got more time to spend in other areas as well.
That's funny that you said butter up the AI chat bot to improve its output. I've heard some wild stories where people put in their prompt that their job depends on it, on a good output, right? So it's almost like this machine trying to go the extra mile to give you what you need to be successful. Is some crazy stuff that I heard in the past.
I suppose we all respond to certain types of enforcement. I guess AI is no different.
Yes, yes. So with all this to say though, with all these strategies and tactics, feedback is always crucial to improve the strategy. How do you go about collecting feedback from your current student, prospective students, alumni, and staff?
Well, I do take a lot of that into account. We have a Blackhawk Ambassadors program, and they're actually housed in our office. And so they're making the social media content, and we make sure that they're around to help give the tours and be the student panel at the visit events, the kind of thing that you might expect. But we have them in our office every other week, and certainly we talk about things that's going on. But we show them what we're doing. Here's the campaign that we're doing. Here is an idea that we're thinking about for this social plan of some sort. What do you think about it? Please tell us. Here's some taglines. Here's some ads. Let's talk about it. I ran our new website past them a month before we launched it. I just say, please take a look at this and find information about your own program. Find information about how much it's going to cost to come here and what you want to do afterwards. Look at this as though you're learning for the first time. They gave us some phenomenal feedback. I was really happy that they liked what they saw and the navigation was better and everything else that you want your new website to do, it did. But that's a direct one-on-one. That's one thing that we do. We definitely have also participated for a number of years in a student media preferences survey that a vendor does, Interact Communications. They do a lot of work with community colleges. That's been a great tool. I believe in it. I run it every other year. Over a year for us, and the cost, it's we can get 2 years worth out of it. And that's been really helpful. I use that to influence the work that we do, and especially with my media mix as I'm budgeting for the year. I'm looking at these platforms. I'm looking at which ones are going to be which. I can start to carve those big slices a little bit better. And it has really moved over time as far as which ones are more or less. That's a direct result of that kind of it's aggregate numbers based, not so much qualitative like I'm getting from my students who are sitting in front of me. So that's another way that I actually do the same. So I'm getting numbers macro, and I'm getting, the micro directly one-to-one from our students.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that falls in line with some of the things that one of my other guests, mutual connection of ours, Maya Demishkovich, talked about the importance of having ambassadors, and then also the surveys. So when it comes to surveys, it's always a hit or a miss depending on what the incentive is, or if you even have an incentive for people to answer. Do you give incentives when you send out the surveys?
Very much so. Yeah, we've learned if you don't, you won't get people. And yes, it probably skews it to a certain degree, because if you offer an online survey, you're going to get folks who are more comfortable in a digital online survey environment, right? Some of us are surveyed out because of whatever reason. In an election cycle, we're all going to get tons of surveys about all the kind of things. We're going to get tired of it. But the more money that I put into surveys, the more that's worth it for me. And we don't normally do a big prize. I'll do between $10 and $20 gift cards, and I'll put $500, $750, $1,000 into survey prizes, because that's still cheaper than even a little ad campaign. And the numbers and the data that I get back is really worth it, because then I'll probably save 10x of that by doing better targeting as a result of what I learned. So you might have your business office say, why are you buying $1,000 worth of gift cards? Well, I could be paying $1,000 to Google. I could be paying $1,000 to our radio station, but it's the same money. It's still a marketing expense. So once they get past that, then they understand, okay, this is how you're, I'm being smart by using my money. But some of you may have challenges with those kinds of things, but it is definitely worth that investment. You'll get it 10x back.
Yeah, it's nothing better than getting that first party research data back, and then wrapping your strategies around that, because then you know what the audience really wants, and you'll be able to get better results through your marketing messages. So great episode so far, Jeff. One more question. What advice would you give somebody, a marketing leader listening to this episode, who's looking to innovate their strategies to reach and engage their audiences more effectively?
Don't be afraid to test stuff. Really look at opportunities that you have. I talked a lot about seeing the new things that are out there, really maximizing the platforms and the opportunities that are available to you within those platforms. Also, when you talk to your students and the people who you're working with, that's exactly what you need to be doing. You need to be innovating. There's a scene in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. Alex Baldwin, ABC, always be closing. The first person wins a Cadillac, the second guy gets a steak knife, right? Well, I don't get quite that aggressive, but I say ABC, always be comparing. So you're looking at things, you're finding ways to test something a little bit different. Keep what works great, but always have a percentage of your budget, of your plan, where you're trying something different.
And what do you think? Should people go out there and network with other professionals to learn from them?
Oh, certainly. Back to the NCMPR thing, I wouldn't have learned what I know without working with the folks who I do work with. I find that I learn just as much 8 a.m. as I do at 8 p.m. when I'm hanging out with people, or 6:30 a.m. when I'm out running with people across downtown Seattle. A great time, and you make some great connections, and it always tends to really enrich your life professionally and personally.
100%. So talking about connecting, how can people connect with you after this episode?
Best place, LinkedIn for sure. LinkedIn, Jeff Ebbing at LinkedIn, and that's one. Certainly, I'm on social media. You can email me. I'm sure my name will be in the show notes. Jeff Ebbing at jebbing@scciowa.edu. We can connect there, and I'd love to connect. There's a lot of folks who I like to hang out with and connect with.
Very good. I'll be sure to tag you in the show notes. So Jeff, thank you very much for your time today for this insightful and inspirational episode, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Hey, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. If you enjoyed it, don't keep it to yourself. Share with your friends in your network. And if you have a moment, I would really appreciate a review of the podcast. That'll help other people find the show as well. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. when I release another episode. Take care now. Have a good one, friends.